Hey Alex and Emmett, I thought that I'd give a review of the game as I see it so far. I'll keep popping through. I'll make changes, I'll zip those changes up, and I'll send them back to you, so no worries about that. Sorry if I'm getting some stuttering. I do see my computer for some reason is stuttering from time to time. The first thing I notice is we have these big elements here, the BGs here. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's these. So given that these are clearly UI elements, I would probably prefer putting them in the UI. So as opposed to like elements on the screen, like from the camera's perspective, like 3D objects or 2D objects, however you want to look at them. Now, both are totally fine. There are games that do all their UI through 3D assets that are like placed in front of the camera, but we already have a UI. There's some buttons on the UI. Let's use them. So I'm gonna get rid of these here. I also noticed these images aren't sliced, so I'm just gonna pop through, see what I can do. Maybe I'll get somewhere, maybe I won't. So settings, I notice. What are these? Okay, yeah, cool. So menu controller. I don't know if that's gonna be used in different spots. Let me just find the references here. Find references. I guess I can only find references in scenes. So let me save. And I'm going to go to scenes and I'm going to click through the scenes. Okay, so they each have different menu controllers. Let me just select this one. Is that the same one? Okay. So that one has a play panel. So we might want each of these to be their own prefab because each of your scenes are kind of different. Let me find the start screen. Here's the start screen, it looks like. Cat scene 1. Rhythm. Okay, paused. I like that. Did I say paused? I thought I did. Like paused. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so we're here. I'm going to go to my prefabs folder. I'm going to unpack this one, unpack prefab completely. I'm going to rename it to PF for prefab menu underscore start. And I'll put it here. Boom. So now it's its own prefab. So I can change it and it won't change anything anywhere else. That's step one. Okay, so let's pop in and let's see if we can add those elements around these things. So we have those two text boxes. I see a graphics raycaster, all that type of stuff. So what are some things I know that we need? The prefab as a menu controller, right? The canvas. Okay. So let's add an image for the background. UI image, UI image. And I'll call it BG for background. And let's give it that old, this one. I'll make it take up the full screen. Boom. And that's step one. Step two, I'll pop over to these text boxes. And actually all these we don't want on their own. They're all kind of buttons, well, except for Caterwauling. Caterwauling is not a button. So I'll leave that as text. But the other two, I would probably set to being, there's my game view. So it is 16 by 9. That's fair. So let's go to text 2, which I think is going to say settings. Cool. I'm going to duplicate this button. And I notice this button is a prefab. Let's select that. Okay, so button is indeed a prefab. But it doesn't know what it's going to do, but it does know it's going to scene change. Okay. So, okay. I'll leave it be for now. Maybe settings is its own separate scene. So I duplicated my button and then you can like modify the things in here. But I assume, okay, it doesn't know what it's going to do. This one doesn't know what it's going to do. So that means that it must reference something in the scene itself. So if I go back and I go to my menu controller, you must have dragged scene change into it. Yes, you did. Okay, that's fine. I'm not entirely opposed to it. Having things kind of not need external references in the scenes just makes your life easier down the line, but I'll ignore that for now. Make it work first and then deal with it later. So I'll call this one btn_start, and I'll call this one btn_settings. And settings is gonna go right under, boom. And I'll make it say settings. Depends on how you want it to look. I'll go back to here. I will revert all. And then I'll give that button its behavior again. Scene change. I would assume scene 2. I didn't actually look at it before, I kind of regret. And then this one would maybe go to a different scene. I don't know what it would do yet. So I'll remove this. Button settings, your text is going to be settings. And let's do some look development and make sure that it works in different resolutions. So I'll go to File, Build Settings, and change to say, okay, so it looks like scene 1 is scene 2. So I'll have to double check what that load scene 1 method does. But okay, so let's pop over to, I'm having a brain fart here. Oh, my build settings, and change to like iOS or something. Oh, can I change to anything? Dang, I don't have the packages. So let's look up a resolution that's an iPhone of some sort. iOS 5, iPhone 5 resolution. iPhone 10 resolution. I'll size for an iPhone 10. I'm just looking at this here. Hopefully it loads properly. Okay. So let's do 1080 by 1920. 1080 by 1920. Oops. But the other way around. Boom. Cool. And I'll size all of my screens to be in line with this one. So I don't have to worry about messing up any of the other screens because this is its own prefab now. But I'm going to pop over to my menu start, go to the canvas, set it to being, instead of constant pixel size, I'm going to scale with the size. And what size am I scaling with? I'm scaling with that 1920 by 1080. And now when I do sizes, it'll be consistent across different devices. Okay, so now I can, let me just think about it. Now I can go to my buttons and put them inside of some group. And what was this one? I can get rid of text 2 here. I'm going to break down these prefabs because they don't actually need to be, the buttons themselves don't need to be prefabs unless you had like a really complicated button. But since this is just a little green guy, I'm not going to be too worried about it. Okay, so right click, create empty. I'm going to call it start layout group. It's going to be a vertical layout group. Boom. Let's see its size. It's tiny, tiny. So let's make it, instead of 100 by 100, let's make it go from 0.4 to 0.6 on the X, and maybe 0.4, 0.3 to 0.7. 2 down and 2 up, so 0.7 on the Y. Boom, 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 boom. So it's going to take up like that much space. And then I can put in all three of these guys. Is that the Caterwauling? Now let's play. I can get rid of it because I already have a button that says it. Caterwauling. There we are. Put it in. Boom. And now I can say, okay, force expand everything. Boom. I'm a little confused as to why my text got lost. Interessante. Maybe because overflow? Nope. I wouldn't have expected that. Yeah, it's like not taking up. Interesting, when I increase it. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Wrap, truncate, where is it? Where are you at? You're scaled to 1. Everything's normal. Weird. Just because I can't see it, let me make it black for a moment. Where'd you go, text? Am I crazy? Am I a crazy boy? Caterwauling. See, it's trying to take up the right amount of space. Center, center. Be that pink color again. What if I start fresh? Is there some setting in here? The UI text. I don't think I usually do text blocks in here, but let me just go to the layout group. Width and height. Use child scale. Yep. Force child expand. Width and height. It should have evenly distributed all of these unless there's some setting on these. So I'm a crazy boy. Let's see if I'm a crazy boy. Because if I duplicate the button start, now it divides those across 3. So let's say fudge it. Let's boom. Let's just make sure I'm not crazy. 0, 0. I'll zero everything out. I'll say B from, I think I said 0.7 was the top point. Your pivot point will be the bottom of you. Your anchor will be in the middle of the screen. I'll say the 0.2 to 0.8 again, or whatever it is I said. And have a height of 100. Weird. I wonder why it was being funky. Let's give ourselves some. If I put that in there, will it do it again? Huh, weird. I am not sure why it's doing that. I'd have to research a bit. I feel like it's a little weird, but it's all good. So let's take my Caterwauling here. I'll give ourselves some 10 pixel, 20 pixel spacing. Maybe each one of these could have its own padding of some sort. Or I could just make this smaller, either or. Yeah, let's resize this from 0.2 to 0.8. Boom. Bigger button, so let's do 0.3 to 0.7. Boom. That's looking pretty good. And let's do. I feel like now this can be bigger. So let's do 0.6, 0.6. Make it lower down, but then also bring down these guys to from 0.2 to 0.6 instead. So it's a little off center. My reason being is because the logo should be a big boy. Yeah, what if it, yeah, I think it's just getting cut off. Interesting. Okay. So if I set that to 0 and 0. Nice. If I make this higher and I set it to auto, best fit. Nice. Maybe I give it some shadow. That's a little easier to read. 5 by -5. You might want to give yourself a nice image for that too. And yeah, the other thing I might do is instead of from 0 to 1 on this image, I might do like -0.2 to 1.2, -0.2 to 1.2 to make it really big, make it take up more screen than you would expect. And then set it to preserve aspect. So that now, even if the screen gets smaller and tries to like fit it in differently, then it won't ever go like off screen. It won't ever go too crazy. The other option you have is doing the 0, 1, 0, 1, and then giving yourself like -30 pixels on each side. Or the other way around. I want it to go... Let me look at it here. That'll make more sense to me. I want to go more, and then like this goes way more. Yeah. So like -200 and 200, -200. Then that should make it like kind of always be okay no matter what resolution you're at. You'll lose the cake sometimes or whatever. You could change the offsets. But now no matter what screen I'm looking at it in, like if I change to 16 by 9 or I go to 16 by 10, it should be a little more consistent, and then you'd give it like a nice background color. Or you make it always be the 0, 1, 0, 1 type of situation and turn off the preserve aspect. Totally up to you. It just depends on the type of background screen you're having. Okay, so that gave us these. Let's go into this layout group. And let's click on my texts here. Maybe I'll make those best fit as well, and I'll make it go up to, say, 60, 100. And I'll click on the shadow, make it a little easier to read. 5 and -5, boom. I'll click on the texture that's on the image here, BG. I'll make a duplicate of it in case you use it anywhere else. I'm going to call it button back. And I don't know how it's going to look because I see that there's some dynamic textures going on. But if I open up Sprite Editor and I go like this, boom. It's about 50. Okay, so 50 along the sides. And I hit apply. Let's see what it looks like if I go to my button start here. You see how it looks a little stretchy? I'd rather it not. So if I do that and then hit sliced. Yeah, it's weird. I wonder why it's doing that for everything. Why would it be doing that? So if I go here. Turn off this. Set it to 100 or something. Something's going on with these layout groups. I'll leave it for now. I haven't seen it behave like that before. So I feel like there's some setting that was set somewhere that, you know, I don't have visibility with, and, you know, this is fine. I'll leave it. Let's go back to the start screen. And as you can see, some stuff isn't working, so I hit revert all, boom. And now it's kind of back to normal. So I can now take that other background and get rid of it. Get out of here. Scene change, I'm going to pop in because I kind of understand how it works. Here we are. And I noticed that you have, you're specifically loading particular scenes. So let's do public void load scene behavior or request scene load. And what would I'll take in an integer int scene index. And instead of doing scene manager.load scene with a string, we'll do scene manager.load scene with that index. And now you don't need three different like menu, like you don't need to have three different specific things. You can have like if I go to that button button start, I can drag in scene change, boom, scene change, request scene load, and I just say 1 or whatever it may be. So let's go to my file build settings. Now it looks like I want to load scene 2, I would assume. So let's check that out. If I go here and I see, I'm going to list mode it here. Cat scene 1. I'm going to call this scene, I'm going to say start scene. And let's go to scene 2. What is this? This is like level select. Level select. Boom. Cool. Song Girl You Want. I'll call it play scene Girl You Want. And I see a rhythm scene as well. Play scene rhythm. I don't know the difference between them. I assume that I could go to file build settings and see which one is actually used. They're both used, so they have similar names, but with different different naming conventions. I assume sample scene is nothing. Oh, okay. So maybe I'll do, just thinking, pause menu. I think that's the same as this one, basically. Am I correct in saying level select isn't used? Or, excuse me, the sample scene's not used. So I'm going to make a folder and call it blacklist. That's just a term that it's more relevant to Unreal because like they literally call it a blacklist. What things don't you want to include in the build? I'm going to put that in here. I'll put this in there as well. Everything else. Boom. Okay, so those are all in there. Okay, so let's keep moving along. Okay, so let's go to start scene. And I want to hit play. And now I see this screen. And it's not scaling with the image quite as I would expect. So let's mess around with it. I don't know how I might do this scene specifically. But I would assume that adoption goes in here, start goes here, menu goes here, and so was that resolution I was using. I think it was 1920 by 1080. Let's size to that. Let's size to that. So here's my canvas. I see buttons are existing. Oh, those are separate. Okay. That works. We can work with that. So let's put canvas out of here. Does canvas include that background? It doesn't. Okay, let's think about this. Okay, so let's go to pause background. That is where'd it go? Oh, whoops, I was turning off the wrong thing. That is okay, that's this part. And that's that part. So we have to I have to think about what the composition of this scene is. I think it's obvious that you want the serve and the normal and that stuff to be within pause background. So let's pop in. I'm going to call this, I'm going to make an empty game object. I'm going to call it PF, what do I call the other one? PF underscore menu underscore I called this level select, but it might be something else. Serve, normal or hard. and I'll call it PF menu level select. I just want to go to those buttons and see what they do. Either of them, one does scene change to 3, which before, let's look at what you called that scene. Scene 3 is all you want. So I'd call this level select. Okay. So I have canvas, prefab, boom. I'm gonna put this into here, boom. I'm gonna put this into here, boom. And now I can work with it separate from everything else. And now whatever changes I make will be made to both. Okay. So let's give ourselves we got our canvas. The canvas screen space scale 1920 by 1080 was it? Yeah, 1920 by 1080. Cool. And now I'm going to right click, create empty. I'll call this panel region. Boom. And I'll add an image to it. UI image. That image is going to be this thing. And it's going to go from 0 to 0.4-ish on the X and 0 to 1 on the Y. Oh, and its parent is going to be the whole screen. Boom. Oh, was I way off? 0 to 0.4 on the X. Is it set to slice or something? Oh. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this. I'm just going to do background panel A. Just going to call it that. And I'm going to slice it. Yeah, so I wasn't expecting this. Boom. Okay, so step 1, revert. Step 1, I need to specify that it is multiple sprites, because really the first sprite is here, and then I can slice it from there. Boom. There is my first sprite. And I'll call it, yep, sure, number 0, apply. Now I can click on that specific sprite. And can I say 20, 40, 80, 80, 10, 30, and 30. And now I think the 420, 420, 430. That looks pretty good. And let's do, instead of 938, let's do 940, 930. That's pretty close, right? Now I can hit apply. Boom. Now I can go to this image here. And I can drag on my new panel that I just sliced up and created, and looking good. And see how it's set to slice? If I set it to simple, it might look stretchy, versus if I say slice and slice at a rate of, I don't know, 2. Matters what I want the border size to be, 3. I think I can even go like 0.5 if I wanted to make a beefy border. But I'll do 1.5. Cute. Okay, so that got me my static border region where I can put stuff. Then we need to have, I believe it was like, yeah, like these things floating around. So let's add those images. I have about 20 minutes still. Okay, we're good. So I can pop over and right click this canvas, create empty. I'm going to create the different regions. So I'm going to call it sub-panel region, and there'll be a couple of them. The first region kind of looked like it was the focal point. about 0.1, 0.05 to 0.95. And on the X is probably like 0.5 to 0.8. I don't know. Let's zero it out and see what it looks like. Oh, am I way off? Oh, am I not in the right object? Whoops. I meant to be in this. Boom. And, oh, inside this image. So panel region, I meant to have this. My bad. Right click, copy. Right click, paste. And then now make this image take up its full space. Boom. And then my panel region should now be correct. Let me just add a subpanel region. There it is. I'll add an image to it because I know that it's supposed to have this buttons thing on it. Yeah. So let's jump over to buttons, and I'm gonna slice it up. I'm gonna duplicate it in case it's used anywhere else, and I don't wanna mess that up. So I'll call this button region A. I don't know what we want to call it. I don't know what it actually serves or what it's actually intended to be. I just know the name of the file is button region. It's going to be multiple textures because there's a lot of dead space in it. So I'm just going to draw that out. Boom. Boom. So I accept that. That looks about right. Maybe a little lower here. Okay. And then on the left, right, I think it looks 20. Let's do 40. Sure. 40 and 40. 20. Much more than that. Okay, 50 and 50. Okay, so that looks about right. I'm gonna hit apply. Boom. And now on this image, I can drag on that panel B or panel A and specify that it's sliced and maybe make it 2. That looks a bit better. I don't know if the intent is for those to look the same. You could mess around with the numbers until they do. 1.5, I think, is an option. And I can shrink it down a bit. So instead of 0.05 to 0.95, I can make it 0.1 to 0.9. Boom, boom. Cool. And what else? What else? What else? We wanted buttons to be in there. I think it was these two, right? Those two. I know these buttons are going to be in subpanel region. I'll call this top. I'll make it a vertical layout. I'll make a region in here. Layout region. I'll add a horizontal layout group to it. I'll put the 2 buttons inside of it. I'll cross my fingers. And I did horizontal instead of vertical. I will size this layout region to be the max size. Boom. And I'll tell it to make it take up width and height. And I'll set the spacing to like 5, maybe 20. And because I already know that these are about 50 pixels or whatever, depending on this, so 1.5, so it's like 50 divided by 1.5, that's what it would actually be. So it would be a little less than 50 for my padding. I could be like 50 on either side, 10 from the, or was it, I think it was actually 50 on the top and bottom. But now, you know, we've got some nice big buttons. I can say, name this button btn underscore hard. btn underscore normal. And maybe I'll call this subpanel region difficulty, because that kind of seems what it's meant to be. And maybe you could even have like a text along the top. That'd be cute. I don't know, just thinking out loud. And these buttons I already, let's see what happens if I do that again. What happens if I do that button back? Interesting. Interesting. I wonder why that is. Did I slice it wrong? I feel like I must have sliced it wrong. I feel like I'm a crazy boy. I sliced it wrong. That would be why. So like 50, right? 50. Apply. So as you can see, these textures we have aren't good for slicing. So maybe I just won't slice it. Because it has a gradient and all that, and it's like trying to figure out how to do it. Let's see if I can mess with it until it looks good. That looks pretty good. I'll take it. It's not the best, but I'll take it. I want him a little beefier. I'll add a shadow. 5 and -5. Make it a little fun. Cool. Last but not least, we'll set these texts to being 60, 20, 50. Feels pretty good. Maybe bold. Bold. All right, so like now we're getting somewhere. Now we are real close. So I got 10 minutes still. Okay, let's keep grooving. So we had that layout region. What else did we have? Let me just turn off this menu to see what used to be there. Okay, so there's like a one on the left and then 2. So let's do. I don't actually know what used to be there either. So let me go back to the scene, kind of look at the composition. It's hard for me to tell what used to be there. So there's a scene change thing. A staff menu. And where is that element? Oh, text. Oh, I see. Okay, so that was a button. And adoption. So staff menu adoption. Let me write that down so I don't forget. Staff menu and adoption. I don't know the goal of those buttons, like where they're gonna go, but you know we can work with it. I'm gonna check with these buttons here. They don't actually have any function yet, so delete, 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 delete. Let's go here. And apparently I missed that button too. Get out of here. And let's give ourselves those regions. So I'm going to duplicate this panel region and delete the stuff inside of it. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to duplicate this region, delete the stuff inside of it. Call it adoption. And it looked like it was like 0.1 to 0.44. Let's do that. And from 0.2 to 0.45. 0.45. 0, 0, 0, 0. Maybe not even 0.2. Maybe it goes like 0.1. Boom. So we've got that going on. And then we had two other ones. We had subpanel region menu, was it? Staff. Oh my god, my caps lock is out of control. Staff. Make them all cap. Make it consistent, whatever you do. I'm just YOLOing at the moment. And menu. All right, so we've got that going on. We've got 8 minutes. I can do it. I can do this. Okay. I'm picking up a car from the shop. Okay, so we got that. Instead of from 0.1 to 0.4 on the X, I wanted to like kind of hit the other side. I believe it goes to 0.9. It has to like be in line with this border to look nice. And maybe 0.6, 0.5, 0.45. I don't know how close I want it to end up being. And along the Y, I want it to go half a, oh my god, okay, calc. Okay, so 0.45 minus 0.1 is going to be 0.35 divided by 2 is going to be like 17-ish. Yeah, so 17.5. So 0.1 to 0.1 plus 0.175. That'll be the middle. Cool. So that's actually going to be the menu one, so I'll call that menu now. Menu. I can tell just because I see it's going to be at the bottom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, baby. Okay, so the other one is this is going to be staff. And I will add, it's going to be from 0.45 to plus from 0.45 on the Y to, actually I wanted there to be a little space, so let's do 0.48. Oh, did I duplicate the wrong one? I did. Well, let me copy this one. Copy component. Paste component values. So I wanted to go from 0.28. I know that I wanted to end at wherever this ends at so that it's nice looking. So it ends at 0.45, so I can work from there. 0.45, and then the other one is going to be 0.45 minus that same 0.175 value, so that they're the same size. And I'll zero it out. 0, 0. And as you can see now, they're kind of taking up the same space. I might want a little bit of border, so from the bottom I'll do 5 pixels here, and from the other one I'll do 5 pixels from the top. And now you get a little bit of a border breathing room. For all of these, I'll right-click UI text. Does that actually work? It does, good. And I'll just say the regions they are. So like menu, or no, adoption, because I don't believe we have anything yet for this content. Menu and adoption. I'll take these, make them take up the full size, center them or whatever, center. Make them have some pixels on the right, so 10. Let's do 30 around. 30. Just so when I say best fit, it won't like go too crazy. Boom. And was it top right? Staff. Whoops, sorry about that. Staff. Okay, so the menu I assume would be a button that goes back to the main menu. So I could probably just take button normal, paste it in here. Make it take up the bounds of the button minus 60 on each side. I don't know. I'll put it here instead. Whoops. 60. Make it say menu. 50. And then in my scene view, I believe you have that little level loader boy. We have no levels for you. Pum. Go to menu, go to button normal. Button normal is gonna, oh, it runs scene change within itself. That's actually very reasonable. I'll take that. So I'll go to boom, button normal. You can run your own scene change. To request scene load. I assume going back to level 0. So let's test it all out. Now if I go back to my scene view, I'm curious at scale of 1. It's a little funky, but I'll deal with it. Let's go to, oops. Boom. Okay. Boom. Scene. Let's go back to the main scene. Level select. Oh, save, of course. Start scene. Play. Play. Awesome. See how now everything's kind of laid out perfectly, and like you can move stuff around. It'll make your life easier. If I have menu, it'll take me back. And I assume if I hit this, it'll. Oh, if I hit, neither of those were found, so I can go to that prefab. Level select prefab. Level change PF canvas. And go to this region, click on this button here. This button is going to run scene change. Oh, let's pop into it. Pop into it. Scene change. Whoops, that's my cue. Okay, so just want to do this real quick. Scene change. Request scene change to, I don't know, 3. File, build settings. 3 is rhythm, 2 is girl that you want. I'm looking at these numbers over here. So let's make that one go to 3. M button, normal. Go to 2. I've saved that. Now if I click on here, will it have 2 buttons? So I can go to revert all, boom. So that now anything that I did in the prefab is definitely here. I no longer need in my scene. I know I don't need. It's like zoom. If I zoom in, I can see it all. But I don't actually need this thing anymore. I don't need that thing anymore. I could still use these. I don't know if you want those in like the bigger UI, or if they're gonna have some dynamic thing that makes them nicer to use. But yeah, so that is probably step 1 of me revising these scenes. Let me just see if they work. Now they work. Cool. Let me just try the other one too. Cool. So that's how I would go about doing the first set of revisions, and I'll see what I can do about recording some more ideas. Well, thank you so much for sitting around watching, getting some ideas, and I'll talk to y'all next time.